But the biggest contrast of all is not over public policy, it's over respect. Because while, yes, Donald Trump and I have been criticizing Kamala Harris and her terrible economic record, what we would never do is attack the citizens of this country for disagreeing with us politically. And that's something that I think every person in this room, I'd ask you to follow the leadership of President Trump. Don't follow the example of Kamala Harris, because every single person, I guarantee in this room, knows somebody who's planning to vote the wrong way in 3 days. And by the way, spend the next 3 days trying to convince them to vote the right way. But don't do what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and Joe Biden and the Democratic leadership have done. Don't cast aside friends and family because they disagree with our politics. Donald J. Trump is the president of prosperity for all of us, whatever our political affiliation, because we love this country, and that means loving the people who live here. Yeah, the events that we did yesterday, I guess this room's too full, but the events that we did yesterday, we had to the side or behind me, we had a giant garbage truck to draw attention to the fact that Kamala Harris's boss is calling her fellow citizens garbage. Instead of trying to persuade them, instead of trying to convince them that Kamala Harris has a plan for their future, they are attacking the people of this country for having the audacity to think that Kamala Harris has done a bad job. So in many ways, the most fundamental difference is not between any particular policy, though there are a lot of differences. The fundamental difference is that Kamala Harris and her Democratic Party bosses call us garbage. Donald J. Trump wants all of us to have a better life, and we're going to fight for that every single day. You know, it's so interesting in these closing stretches of the campaign. I think you see the difference between the leadership styles and the character of our guy versus Kamala Harris. And you look at what Kamala Harris is talking about. She's running her entire campaign on, well, you can't trust this thing that Donald J. Trump says, even though Donald J. Trump actually delivered it during his 4 years in office. She's spending her campaign lying about what Donald Trump has said, what Donald Trump has done, taking it out of context, and attacking her fellow citizens as garbage. This is not the way to close a campaign if you love this country. Think about this. Why isn't Kamala Harris saying, here's what I did to lower your grocery prices? Because she can't say that. Why isn't Kamala Harris saying, here's what I did as vice president to close down the southern border? Because she can't say that. Why isn't Kamala Harris bragging about what she has done to make your life better? The simple answer, she can't brag about it because she hasn't done it. Because the very policies that have made your life worse are policies that she bragged about and supported for 4 years. And now, 3 days before an election, she's trying to pretend that she's somehow different or will be different than she has been for the last 4 years. We need to reject that lie, reject that kind of dishonesty, and remind our fellow citizens that Kamala Harris has failed, Kamala Harris broke it, and Donald J. Trump will fix it. We need to remind our fellow citizens that the contrast between Donald J. Trump and Kamala Harris is not just in what they've said or what they propose to do. The difference is in what they have actually done in government. For the first time in the lifetime of every person in this country, we're not just talking about proposals and plans, things on a website. We're talking about what they actually did in government. And I think it's useful to contrast the America of Donald J. Trump and the America of Kamala Harris. In Kamala Harris's America, we have the highest inflation in 40 years. In Donald J. Trump's America, inflation was at 1.5%, and Americans could afford to live a good life. In Kamala Harris's America, wages are stagnating and the economy is shedding jobs. In Donald J. Trump's America, we were adding jobs and wages were rising as fast as they had in 40 years in the United States of America. In Kamala Harris's America, the border is open and our communities have been flooded with fentanyl. In Donald Trump's America, the border was closed and our neighborhoods were safe and secure. In Kamala Harris's America, she tries to censor her fellow citizens or call them garbage for having the audacity to notice that she did a terrible job. In Donald J. Trump's America, we are going to fight for every American citizen, whatever your background or whoever you voted for. In Kamala Harris's America, she'll wag her finger at you and complain for you laughing at a joke. And in Donald J. Trump's America, we have a pretty good time because we love this country and you can have a good time. So the question before us is not whether you agree with me on every issue. It's not whether you agree with Donald J. Trump on every issue. The question is whether you want peace and prosperity for your fellow citizens or whether we want to double down on the failed leadership of Kamala Harris. The question is whether we believe that we actually had peace and prosperity when Donald J. Trump was president, and we did. Or do you believe that somehow Kamala Harris is going to do something radically different over the next 4 years than she did over the first 4 years? The answer is no. We know the answer to that question. So let me leave you with this last thought, because, again, I think it's so easy to get caught in the red team versus blue team. But remember, we've got a lot of good Democrats and independents who are on our side, who are fighting alongside of us every single day. We've got Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard, as Don mentioned. We've got Brian Kemp and Nikki Haley. But the point here is not just to beat the Democrats, as fun as it will be. Trust me, I'm going to enjoy beating Kamala Harris more than any person in this room come November the 5th. It's going to be fun. But I want you to remember the stakes and remember what we're fighting for. It's not just to win an election. It's to give the American people better leadership. You know, when I think about the future, I, of course, can't help but think about it through the eyes of my 7-year-old, my 4-year-old, and my 2-year-old. And I talk to all these parents who have lost a kid because their kid took something that was laced with fentanyl and they never got a chance to lecture their kid or to ground their kid. That simple teenage mistake took their child from them. I want my kids to grow up in a country where it's safe enough for them to make mistakes and learn from it rather than that mistake become a death sentence. I talked to a woman who told me that for 40 years in good times and bad, she and her husband had done steak night on a Friday night, but they stopped doing steak night last year because under Kamala Harris's policies, groceries became simply too unaffordable. I want us to fight for every citizen who works hard and plays by the rules to be able to afford a nice steak at the end of the week because we have prosperity for all of our citizens and everybody who lives here. I want to be able to look our proud veterans and active service members in the eye and tell them that when we send them to some foreign country, we do it for the defense of the United States of America and not to be the policeman of the world. I want the young people who tell me they're worried about being able to afford a house or being able to afford a family to be able to buy that beautiful home, to be able to start a family, because in the United States of America, if we're not fighting for our families and for the next generation, then we are failing, and that is what Kamala Harris has done. I want a better life for our fellow citizens. I want prosperity. I want security. I want peace. And the unfortunate truth is that the American people deserve to have a better life. They deserve to have better leadership than what they're getting today. And the only way to change that is in 3 days to vote for Donald J. Trump as the President of the United States. God bless you, Nevada. Let's get it done. Thank you.